How powerful is Asta? In the world of Black Clover, everyone is loved by the force that they call mana. All of the residents of this world are gifted magical powers to be able to control a particular element or manifest a specific ability. Some have power over wind, water, fire, and others even time itself. And to use said magic, each is given a grimoire. In the Clover Kingdom, there exist grimoires that have a 3-leaf clover on its cover, and for the truly exceptional, 4. But one boy exists unloved by the force called mana, a boy who cannot use magic at all. And yet this same boy holds a 5-leaf clover grimoire and vows to become the Wizard King. So what exactly does this mean about him and his power? Welcome to Cosplay-FTW, your #1 source for the latest lowdown on anime and manga news, updates, and analysis. Sit back, relax, grab some snacks, and before we get into this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Today, we'll be diving deep into Black Clover's Asta to analyze just how powerful the muscular runt and certainly lovable meathead has become throughout his journey as a magic knight under the Black Bull Knight Order. And man, has he come a long way since messing around in the church he grew up in. We'll also be analyzing all of his known abilities up until the latest manga arc. Before we jump in, fair warning, there will be minor spoilers for the anime and manga, so if you don't want to get spoiled, we'll give you a chance to exit out of the video. Alright, let's dive in. To start off, we need to emphasize how much of an anomaly Asta is. Even in the Black Clover verse, which is full of magic, he's a special case, earning him the rank of not a second, first, heck not even a 0-stage mage. The sheer nature of Asta's unique abilities and the way he wields his mysterious power is such a quandary that it's immeasurable, even by their standards. Asta belongs to the extremely rare class of mages called Arcane Stage Mages, but how can this boy with no mana whatsoever even be a mage at all, never mind one of the most powerful in the series? We'll tell you that by exploring his physical strengths, special abilities, weapons, spells, and balance them out with some of his greatest weaknesses. Asta, having no magical power, needed to come up with ways to handle his equipment and hold his own in battles against other mages who can easily overpower him through magical means. He had to compensate for this by being extremely unconventional and hard-working, and in a world where the majority of people rely on magic for even daily tasks, he is literally forced to take a very physical and hands-on approach to the world around him. As a result, our boy Asta is stacked. To show off that he never misses a workout, he's even started wearing what we like to call shirtless sleeves in the most recent arc. I mean, just look at him. Look at him! With Asta being as built as he is, it's obvious that he has more strength than the average person. He's shown this off on many occasions, wielding monstrously large and heavy swords with relative ease, doing 1,000 push-ups, punching holes in rocks. Yeah, Asta is on a whole nother level when it comes to physical strength. It's no wonder why official sources place Asta at the #2 spot in terms of physical strength. Referencing to Gada's official chart, this lands him just below Yami and even above Veto. Of course, since the publishing of this information, many more characters have been introduced, so naturally there would be some shuffling around of the characters, but we know Asta would easily hold his rank. In addition, he also boasts enhanced speed, though this does seem to be one of his weakest base stats, and he also enjoys boosted durability as seen in battles against Patoli, Dante, and other foes where he stood his ground. Even though Asta doesn't have mana, let's discuss a special ability he can use, anti-magic. In fact, Asta alone is able to use anti-magic because of the fact that he has no mana. This means that only he is capable of wielding this particular form of power, and his weapons being unaffected by the constant magic drain of anti-magic weaponry, as he has none in the first place to be drained. Kind of like how in Futurama, brain slugs will die of starvation when met with a victim with no brains, or rather delta brainwaves, so to speak. Anti-magic is able to nullify all other magic attacks, meaning Asta can slash, dispel, and block all other magic with his anti-magic swords. According to Nock, anti-magic is actually the strongest form of magic, being able to nullify other forms of it. Anti-magic is the bane of magic itself, giving it the capacity to surpass all other brands of magic. With Asta being the only character who's capable of using this brand of magic, Asta's growth potential is already through the roof. With swords being his main weapon, Asta's swordsmanship itself might have come as a shock. Initially, Asta's style is best described as, well, rough at best. We'll cut him some slack since he was untrained after all. That was until he met Fanzel Kruger, an escaped refugee hailing from the Diamond Kingdom who just happened to be one of their best swordsmen. This fateful encounter leads Asta to become a much better swordsman, and over time, Asta develops greater skill through his battle experience, additional swords, and key sensing, which we'll get into that a little later. Most recently, during his training with Noct, Asta shows that he now has immense talent as a skilled swordsman, replicating the style of every swordsman he has fought up until this point. But believe it or not, Asta still has room to grow in this area, and we might have actually gotten some foreshadowing of his sword techniques to come. During his face-off against the 5-leaf Clover Grimoire devil, Liebe, we see that the devil can wield Asta's anti-magic swords, using a sort of anti-magic psychicism or telekinesis to control them. And due to the training he's undergone in the Heart Kingdom, Asta's now able to control his sword remotely by summoning it to himself even when he's far away from it. This gives some validity to the theories that perhaps Asta will retain more of a telekinetic proficiency over them, and we'd love to see this incorporated into his sword fighting abilities. With that being said, let's get into the type of swords we've seen Asta handle thus far. First up is his Demon Slayer sword, which is likewise the first sword that Asta was able to obtain after receiving his Grimoire. The sword itself is massive and wide, and by extending anti-mana on its edges, he can make the already huge sword even bigger. You know, following the classic trope of so many other beloved anime swordsmen. I mean, at this point, it really feels like shonen animes are on a mission to see who has the biggest sword. The Demon Slayer sword is even wide enough for him to use as a shield when need be. This is Asta's go-to weapon, so it's no surprise that he's gained some mastery over it. He can use it as a mode of transportation by air by standing on it as you would a surfboard, which is kind of redundant since his union forms already grant him flight, but we're not gonna lie, it still looks hella cool. The second sword that Asta receives is the Demon Dweller sword. Its original owner is Lich, the leader of the elf tribe and one of its 10 apostles of Saphira. Demon Dweller gives Asta more ranged attacks and is capable of absorbing and discharging magic, allowing Asta to borrow magic from those around him and use their attributes in battle. But it can also release slashes of anti-magic. The Demon Dweller sword absorbs a ton of mana from its wielder, thus making Lich, who has huge mana reserves, and Asta, who has none whatsoever, the only ones qualified to wield it. The Demon Destroyer sword is Asta's third sword and possesses one of the strongest abilities in his arsenal, Causality Break, which stops the cause and effect of spells and curses. We know that it can remove numerous effects like poison magic, reincarnation magic, scale magic, and even some curses. But we also don't know the extent of this ability, since Asta couldn't seem to dispel more powerful curses, like the ancient curse put on his arms, which he had to seek assistance from the Witch Queen to undo, as well as the likes of Megicula's curse. The fourth and most recent blade to join Asta's arsenal is of course the Demon Slayer Katana, obtained from his fight with Dante Zagratis. In this battle, Yami Sokohiro lends Asta his katana, and after being coated in his anti-magic, the sword is added to his Grimoire after the fight. Now, this occurrence may hint at a new ability, and it's speculated that Asta may now possess the ability to coat any weapon with anti-magic, turning any regular weapon into an anti-magic one. This is speculation though, so I suppose we'll just have to see. Now let's dive into the Grimoire owned by our pint-sized hero. After all, no magician is complete without it, and Asta is no exception. This is the source of spells for all mages. Asta's Grimoire is wildly different in terms of form and function. While most magicians have 3 and in rare cases 4-leaf clovers on their cover, Asta's is the only one to feature a 5-leaf clover. Every other mage receives a pristine Grimoire, but Asta's is grimy, it's ragged, it's covered in dirt, and makes the clover on the front damn near unnoticeable. I mean, it's no wonder no one ever seems to notice that Asta has a 5-leaf clover on his Grimoire, but the aspects serve to set Asta apart, once again emphasizing that Asta's Grimoire and its powers stand apart from all others. Now, before we get onto the outrageous spells that Asta uses, why not do us a favor and leave a like on our video? Maybe even subscribe? Maybe? It helps a lot to get more videos to you guys and helps the channel as well. A little click can go a long way. And with that, let's get on to the spells. Asta doesn't use basic water ball or firewall spells. Being an anti-magic user, Astas are something else entirely. The first is Black Meteorite. Asta enters Black Asta mode and launches himself towards the opponent and slashes the enemy when they've entered his range. The second is Bull Thrust. He wields the Demon Slayer and Demon Dweller swords in front, forming a bull's horns, and flies face first towards an enemy's magic, dispelling it. The drawback is that Asta can't switch directions when using this technique. Black Hurricane is yet another Black Asta mode spell. After coating his body in anti-magic, he spins rapidly. The anti-magic properties pull him towards magic spells, nullifying enemy magic. Moreover, this skill can nullify an entire field of magic and magical traps instantaneously. The fourth spell is Black Divider. With this spell, Asta condenses and pushes the anti-mana from his Demon Slayer sword outwards and makes the already massive blade even more so. With this, he can cleave magic in two or use the flat end of the blade to strike magic at an enemy. The anti-magic properties of his sword are attached to magic naturally, so it's hard for it to miss or for his attack to be dodged. The Black Divider technique is typically used as a finishing blow to an enemy. This fifth spell is unique to the Demon Dweller sword. Black Slash. Asta fills the sword with anti-magic and launches it forward in the form of a slash that cuts through incoming magic. Though this can't cut people, it can knock them out. And the last addition to all Asta's skills and abilities is his demon partner, Liebe. Liebe has been present throughout the series, but is always cryptically referred to as the demon that possesses the 5-leaf Clover Grimoire. He's the reason why the weapons that Asta possesses also have anti-magic properties due to Liebe's powers being that of anti-magic. Lucifero states that Liebe is a low-ranking devil, but his anti-magic qualities give him and Asta such an advantage that technically they can still defeat stronger opponents and even high-ranking devils. Liebe is the source of Asta's anti-magic and grants him extra power when using Devil Union mode. The first of the two unions formed with Liebe is of course Black Asta. Through channeling anti-magic through his body and cloaking his body with it, Asta can attain this form. Aside from the somewhat demonic look it gives him, this form increases his already ample strength and grants him the ability of flight, increasing his overall movement, and definitely giving a boost to his speed stats. While in this form, Asta's focus and mental clarity are significantly increased. Another added benefit is that he can passively attack strong incoming magic, protecting Asta from all incoming spells. The downside to this is not only the extended time it takes to activate this ability, but also the price he has to pay thereafter. This form takes an enormous physical toll on Asta's body, and as a result, he can only use it for a maximum of 3 times in one day, and just barely. The newest form he has on the table is the Devil Union mode, attained after he and Liebe undergo the devil binding ritual, forging a formal equal contract. With this being a new ability to both of them, it's still rough and unpolished, but we expect to see them master the ability given enough time. This form greatly adds to their combined anti-magic abilities and even gives Asta a whole new look. Fully cloaked in anti-magic, he almost looks like he's wearing a suit of black armor, which for all intents and purposes is quite fitting for a Black Bull Knight. He also sports a new set of wings as well as even more horns on his head, truly completing the whole devil look. In this mode, he's surrounded by orbs of anti-magic that assist him in battle, which kind of reminds us of the True Seeker orbs in Naruto. Devil Union mode only has a 5-minute runtime and a 30-minute cooldown before he can activate it again. But if Asta and Liebe can get over this time limitation restricting them, they will really be in a league of their own. Additionally, we have to see Asta use his Demon Slayer Katana in this form, but we're anticipating this since it has been foreshadowed in the manga. In addition to all of Asta's other abilities, he has undergone training to harness the power of Ki. Ki is separate and distinct from mana and acts as the sixth sense in sensing the unseen world and its energies around him. He learned this from Yami Sukahiro, and the technique originated from Yami's homeland, the Hino country. This skill allows Asta to react faster to attacks and movements, and is the very basis on which Asta is able to summon his Black Asta form. It could even go as far as to allow Asta to predict attacks as well as to tell someone if they're lying or not. In these ways, Ki acts as both an offensive and defensive technique. Although we can call him meathead and even Noel calls him Bakasta, he's still shown that he has the cunning to outwit most, if not all, of his opponents in a fight. Asta's intelligence doesn't lie in bookishness, but he has also shown he's able to learn quickly and even grasp the situation faster than others. His cleverness score is a respectable 4 out of 5, equivalent to that of Yuno's. He's also a great tactician and an improviser in his own right, being able to come up with strategies and act on them on the fly. Though Asta's powerful, he does have some notable weaknesses. First off, he is primarily a close-range fighter. If someone were able to fight him from a far distance while still being effective, then he'd probably have a much harder time than he would normally even with his Black Slash. And the time on his Devil Union form and Black Asta form is definitely an issue. In contrast, with Spirit Dive, it seems like the time limit depends on the mage using it, but so far it seems that those with spirits are able to keep up this spell for a much longer time. But with Asta and Liebe, the 5-minute constraint and physical strain thereafter remains a huge restriction that needs to be overcome. If an opponent can outlast his time constraint, he can be left vulnerable and in a state where he can be defeated. Another weakness is that Asta can be left vulnerable to curses. like when he was unable to use his arms, and disarming of his swords also leaves him with little recurves, as we've seen before. In the end, what can we say about Asta? Well, he's a true outlier in his own series. He frustratingly defies categorization and scaling in his own setting. Asta's lack of mana and his devil partner Liebe's anti-magic and ability to exist unconnected to the underworld are both breakthrough conditions that leave us no proper scale to weigh them against. In fact, it's interesting just how much public opinion on Asta's strength varies even among BC fans. Opinions of his true strength are all over the place, with some debating that Asta is large mountain level in terms of destruction capacity, others arguing country level, and others insisting he has the capacity to decimate a continent. And no doubt, we have seen truly awe-inspiring feats from Asta, from defeating a fortress full of enemies and his powerful commander, who displayed devil-like powers at Kandero, destroying the Ice Moon, which visibly dwarfed the Spade Kingdom, and effortlessly dispelling the attack of the ancient demon attacking the Clover Kingdom, which was noted to be powerful enough to bring down the country, and destroying the demon single-handedly thereafter with a single strike. But we think there's something to be said here. This truly speaks to the amazing job Togata did in creating such an anomaly of a character. Asta is a truly powerful hero of incomparable strength on the basis of his non-conformity alone, and truthfully, anti-magic in Asta and Liebe's combined potential is almost terrifying. No matter how powerful an enemy's magic, it's suggested that the very property of anti-magic itself means that Asta and Liebe have the capacity to surmount it. We think a much more interesting question might be where exactly do the limits of their unique powers lie. All in all, Asta's been able to handle his own in most fights, and with the addition to his new union and Black Asta's forms, he's only becoming more powerful from here on out. Even in the Spade arc, he's played a pivotal role and has been a major player in the fight ever since. If Asta isn't the strongest in the series, now he's definitely in the top 10. But of course, powerful clipping is pretty crazy in Black Clover, and rankings can shift haphazardly and at any given moment, so one rarely stays the strongest for long. Well, that's our analysis on Asta and how powerful he is now. Do you have any more characters that you would want us to cover? Or maybe we missed something that you picked up on? Comment it down below and we'd love to see what you guys have to say. How about looking at some of our other character strength breakdowns, or maybe any of our other videos? Subscribe and hit that notification bell to be up to date on our uploads. And that's all we have in store for you today. See you guys in the next one.